The day my dad was buried, my brother brought a moving truck to the house. "We're just helping ourselves to what he'd want us to have," he said. I called the police, showed them the will. Everything was locked until probate. As they drove off, my brother yelled, "You've always been selfish." I held up the keys and said, "That's why I still have everything." My dad died on a Monday morning. The house was quiet when it happened. I was there. I held his hand. He didn't say anything before he went, just let out this soft sigh and stared at the ceiling like he was already somewhere else. The hospice nurse came in, checked him, and gave me a look. That was it. I sat with him for another hour before I called anyone. He was 78, pancreatic cancer. Diagnosed in April, gone by mid-July. It hit fast. He fought it, sure, but it was a losing battle from the start. The pain was bad near the end. I moved into his house those last few weeks to take care of him. I'm not looking for praise, I did it because I owed him. He raised me alone after Mom died. He worked every day of his life, took care of everything, never asked for help. My brother Dean? He came around once, drunk off his ass. He stank like beer and sweat, told Dad he was sorry for being a screw-up, cried for 2 minutes, then disappeared. That was the last time Dad saw him. The funeral was rough. We buried Dad at Oak Hill Cemetery, just down the road. It rained. Not pouring, just steady and cold. People showed up, neighbors, old co-workers from the steel mill, a few distant cousins. Dean showed up late, of course. He wore a wrinkled black shirt and jeans. His boots were caked in mud. I could tell he didn't want to be there. He stayed quiet during the service. Stood at the back with his hands in his pockets, head down. After we buried Dad, most of the family came back to the house. Trish had laid out food, sandwich trays, chips, soda. People sat in the living room and kitchen, swapping stories. It felt like something out of a movie. For a few hours, I thought maybe everything would be okay. Then everyone left. Just me, Trish, and our kids. I was wiping down the kitchen counter when I heard it. A loud diesel engine rumbling down the street. I stepped outside and saw it, this big-ass white Ryder truck pulling into the driveway. It barely fit between the hedges. The side said budget moving in faded red letters. Dean hopped out of the passenger side, grinning like an idiot. Ray, his friend who's always in trouble with someone, was behind the wheel. 2 more guys jumped out of the back. They looked like they were ready for a warehouse job. Gloves, boots, heavy-duty belts. "What the hell are you doing?" I asked, stepping off the porch. Dean stretched like he was about to do yard work. "We're just here to grab what Dad would have wanted us to have." I looked around. "Are you serious right now?" He smiled like he was doing me a favor. "Come on, man. Don't make this a thing." "It is a thing," I said. "You don't just roll up here with a moving truck the day we bury your father." Dean shrugged. "You got your time with him. You lived here. Took care of him. Good for you. But I was his son too. He'd want me to have something." "He left a will," I said. "Everything is frozen. We have to wait for probate." He waved that off. "Lawyers take months." "Screw that. I'm not taking anything big. Just the guns, the tools, maybe some of his hunting stuff. Sentimental things." "Sentimental?" I laughed. "You mean the stuff you pawned last time you got behind on rent?" That pissed him off. His jaw clenched. "You think you're better than me? I think you're standing in my driveway with a moving truck the day we buried our father." Ray opened the back of the truck. The 2 guys started pulling out plastic bins and cardboard boxes. Dean moved toward the garage. I blocked the door. "Move," he said. "Call me selfish one more time," I said. "And I'm calling the cops." Dean actually smiled. "Yeah? Do it. Tell them your brother's taking a few things from his own damn house. Tell them how you locked down everything like you're the king now." So I did. I walked inside, locked the front door, and called Hammond PD. I told them everything. How my father had just been buried, how my brother showed up with a truck, how nothing could be taken until probate. I went back outside and waited. Dean and his guys were already in the garage. He'd pried open a side window. The frame was cracked. A few boxes were already in the truck bed. I saw my dad's toolbox, his Remington rifle, even the old tackle box we used on Lake Michigan. Trish stood beside me. She looked scared, but I wasn't. I was done letting Dean run over people. When the police arrived, it was 1 car, 2 officers. One of them was an older guy, gray mustache, slow walk. He took the situation in with 1 glance. I handed him the will. He looked it over. Then he looked at Dean. You need to put it all back, he said. Dean started to argue. Said he had every right. Said he was just taking things Dad would have given him anyway. The officer pointed at the broken window. You entered without permission. That's enough for a charge right there. Keep going and you'll be in cuffs. Dean stared at me like he couldn't believe it. Like I betrayed him. You've always been selfish, he shouted. You always thought you were better than me. I held up the house keys and said, that's why I still have everything. Ray peeled out, throwing gravel everywhere. Dean didn't even look back. But this wasn't over. Not even close. A few days after the truck incident, I figured Dean would cool off. Maybe even call to apologize, not because he meant it, but because he knew he had crossed a line. He didn't. Instead, I got a call from my dad's lawyer, Mr. Pendleton. I knew him for years. He helped Dad write the will 2 years ago after a heart scare. Mr. Pendleton was steady and slow, a little too formal, but he was sharp. You need to come to the office, he said. Your brother has filed a petition. He's challenging the will. What the hell for? I asked. He's claiming undue influence. Says your father wasn't in his right mind when he named you executor and left you the house. My stomach turned. That's bullshit. I know. But the court has to hear it. So now I had to hire a lawyer. I sat in my kitchen that night, reading the court paperwork. Dean had listed all these lies. Said I kept him away from Dad. Said I isolated him while he was dying. Said I forced Dad to change the will while drugged. Even said I forged the signature. He was going for the throat. Trish tried to calm me down. He doesn't have proof of any of that. Doesn't matter, I said. It's enough to drag this out, to make my life hell. And he did. Over the next 3 months, Dean did everything he could to ruin me. He showed up at the house at random hours, sometimes just sitting in his truck across the street. Sometimes he'd come to the door, bang on it, then drive off laughing. He told neighbors I was stealing from our dad's estate. Said I was hoarding everything. He even posted on Facebook that I let our father die alone and locked him out of the family home. People started asking me questions at church. A few even stopped talking to me. But the worst part? He broke into the garage again. One night, I came home from work and saw the side window busted out. Same one he used before, only this time he cut the screen and used a crowbar. He took more tools. The old drill press. My dad's leather jacket. Even the rusted-out tackle box he hadn't wanted until I had it. I called the cops again. This time they took photos, dusted for prints. But they didn't arrest him. Said it would be a civil issue since it was part of the estate battle. I told them that was bull. You let him come in here and steal again, and you're just going to let it go? The younger cop shrugged. You've got to let the court handle it. Dean knew exactly how far he could push. He was always good at finding the line and standing right on it. Then he did something I didn't expect. He got to my son. My oldest boy, Kyle, is 17. He was close to Grandpa. Helped me care for him at the end. Dean hadn't seen him much since he was a kid, but I guess he figured blood was blood. One day, Kyle came home quiet. Wouldn't look at me. I asked what was wrong. Uncle Dean said you forced Grandpa to change the will, he said. Said you cut him out because you hated him. I stood there stunned. Kyle, that's not true. You were here. You saw what I did. What your mom did. Dean didn't even visit. He looked down. I know. But he said Grandpa was on meds. That you told the lawyer what to write. I sat with him for an hour. Told him the truth. Every word. He believed me, I think. But that seed, Dean planted it and it didn't go away. That's when I stopped waiting. I started digging. I knew Dean had a record, DUIs, assault, a few unpaid fines. But I didn't know how deep it went. I hired a private investigator. Cost more than I wanted, but it was worth it. What he found? Dean had taken out loans using Dad's name 6 months before he died. Credit cards. Payday advances. Even a personal loan from one of those shady online lenders. He forged Dad's signature and listed himself as a caretaker. Total was over $22,000. When I showed that to the lawyer, Mr. Pendleton's eyes lit up. This changes everything, he said. This isn't just a probate case anymore. This is fraud. We filed a police report. Attached the PI's files. Got affidavits from the nurse who cared for Dad. Even the hospice supervisor signed a statement saying Dean never visited except for that one time. It was enough. The judge put a freeze on Dean. No access to the estate. No more games. Dean didn't show up for the next court hearing. His lawyer quit. The judge threatened a bench warrant if he didn't respond. Then one night I got a text from Dean. Said, "Hope it was worth it. Check the porch." I ran outside. The porch was on fire. Just a small one. A cardboard box filled with rags and lighter fluid. He lit it and left it at my door. If I hadn't caught it, it could have spread to the siding. Could have burned the whole damn house down. Trish called 911. They put it out. Police took a report. We had security cameras, thank God. Clear footage of Dean dropping the box and walking off. He was arrested that night. Arson. Property damage. Violating a court order. I stood at the station watching them lead him out in cuffs. He looked at me like I killed him. "You did this," he hissed. I didn't say a word. But inside I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Justice. Dean stayed in county jail for 2 weeks before he made bail. I heard he borrowed the money from some old drinking buddy out in Griffith. Rumor was he promised him a cut of the estate. What a joke. After the fire, I got cameras installed around the whole property. Front yard, backyard, garage, even the mailbox. I wasn't taking chances anymore. My lawyer pushed hard with the DA to bring real charges against Dean. They had the footage, the history, the motive. It wasn't just family drama anymore. It was criminal. But Dean didn't go quietly. 2 days after he got out, someone slashed the tires on my truck. All 4 clean cuts. The neighbor's Ring camera caught a shadowy figure in a hoodie just after 3 a.m. Couldn't see the face. But I knew it was him. Cops took another report, but didn't make an arrest. Said there wasn't enough to prove it was Dean. Of course not. That same week, I started getting letters from debt collectors. Apparently, Dean had used my name on a few of the credit apps too. Mixed in with Dad's info. One of them had my social security number. I lost it. Spent the next 2 weeks on the phone with banks, credit agencies, lawyers. Dean was trying to drag me down with him. Meanwhile, the estate probate finally hit court. The judge reviewed everything. Dad's medical records, the will, the hospice statements, the PI report, the fraud evidence, and now the arson charges. It was all there in a thick stack of folders on the bench. Dean didn't even show up. His court-appointed lawyer tried to delay things, but the judge wasn't having it. He ruled in my favor. Everything in the will stood. The house, the tools, the savings, every last piece was legally mine. Dean was officially disinherited and the judge even granted a restraining order. I thought that was it. I thought we were finally done. But then I got the call from Kyle's school. Dean had shown up during lunch. Told the front office he was Kyle's emergency contact and needed to take him home. He even had some fake paperwork. Thankfully, the secretary was sharp. She knew something was off and called me right away. Kyle never left the building. When I got there, Dean was already gone. I filed a report that night. The officer looked shaken when he read through Dean's file. "This guy's unraveling," he said. "You need to take extra precautions." We did. New locks. New alarm. Kyle started staying with his girlfriend's family until things cooled off. Then Trish found something. She was going through one of Dad's old file boxes, stuff we hadn't touched yet from the study, and she pulled out a dusty manila folder labeled loan paperwork. Inside was a signed letter from Dean dated 3 years ago. It said he'd borrowed $15,000 from Dad and promised to repay it within 1 year. It was notarized. It also had a handwritten note from Dad, if unpaid, deduct from inheritance. We had it notarized again. Submitted it to the estate records. The judge accepted it. Dean now officially owed the estate $15,000. I laughed out loud when my lawyer told me. So not only does he get nothing, he actually owes me? That's how it works, the lawyer said. I started getting calls from his old friends after that. Guys I hadn't heard from in years. Apparently Dean was out of money, couch hopping, borrowing cash from anyone who'd listen. Word was he was blaming me for everything. Said I stole the house, the inheritance, his future. He even told someone I killed Dad, said I gave him the wrong meds. That was the last straw. I requested a full toxicology report from the hospice. Paid out of pocket. Took weeks, but it came back clean. No mistakes. No overdose. No abuse. I kept the report. Filed it. Just in case. Then finally, one night, Dean broke completely. It happened on a Sunday. We were getting ready for church. Trish was upstairs helping the kids and I was in the kitchen sipping coffee. That's when I saw it on the front porch camera feed. Dean. He was standing just outside the frame, not moving, just staring at the door. He had a hoodie on, hands in his pockets. I froze. Then the doorbell rang. I didn't answer. I called the cops. Told them Dean was here, violating the restraining order. They said a car was on the way. I watched the camera. He didn't ring again. Didn't knock. Just stood there like he was waiting. Then I heard the glass. Not the front door or back window. The one over the sink. Trish screamed. I grabbed the bat from the hall closet and ran into the kitchen. Dean was halfway through the broken window. Face cut, hands bleeding. But his eyes were calm. Cold. You ruined my life, he said. You did that yourself, I said back. He dropped down into the kitchen. Stared at me. He was my dad too. But you took him. Just like everything else. I didn't take him, I said. You gave him away every time you stayed gone. Every time you let your pride matter more than showing up. We stood there in silence. Then he charged. I swung the bat. Caught his shoulder. He fell, hit the floor hard. Trish yelled for the kids to stay upstairs. I stood over Dean, breathing hard, heart pounding. The sirens came fast. Lights in the windows. Red and blue flashing like a warning. Dean didn't fight when they cuffed him. He didn't say a word. Just looked at me one last time, eyes full of something I couldn't read. Maybe hate. Maybe regret. Maybe both. He was charged with breaking and entering, violating the order, and attempted assault. They added it to the arson case. This time, the judge denied bail. He went to jail. For real. The estate closed a few months later. I sold the house. Couldn't live there anymore. Too many ghosts. We moved to Bloomington, closer to Trish's folks. Started fresh. New jobs. New school for the kids. But I wasn't clean either. What I didn't tell anyone, what I only admit now, is that I did pressure Dad a little when we rewrote the will. Not the money. Not the house. But the part about cutting Dean out. Dad was angry at him, sure. But he wasn't going to disinherit him completely. I pushed for that. I told him Dean would waste it all. Sell the house. Blow the cash. Ruin the place he built with his hands. Dad hesitated. But he was tired. He nodded. Signed the papers. Was I wrong? I don't think so. But I was part of it. I nudged him when he was weak. I made sure I got the last word. I told myself I was protecting Dad's legacy. But maybe I was just settling old scores. Dean tried to destroy me because I shut him out. But I shut him out because I didn't trust him. Not even to mourn our father the right way. I won. Legally. Financially. But I still wake up some nights thinking about that last look in Dean's eyes. I held the keys. I held the will. I held the law. But what I didn't hold was grace. And maybe that's the part of the inheritance we both lost.